Hi everybody, welcome back. Another technical demo around the Quarkus application. So this demo showcase how to do flexible data development with the DynamoDB. So this is the one of Quarkus example. Quarkus is just like a make your Quarkus ecosystem as a universe. Literally, you can contribute it back to a Quarkus project. Whatever you need. For example, I'm going to keep using my live coding and continue testing, and there's a bunch of developer productivity features with the Quarkus whenever develop an application. One of the best practice to have that kind of feature with the business functionality, but that is not provided by core Quarkus extension. With that, Quarkus actually provides that space for any random developer to create that kind of extension and then put it into Quarkus, and a lot of Quarkus user developer just pull down your extension from Quarkus on your project and then use that. That is really beautiful with the Quarkus to contribute back to create a new Quarkus extension. So today I'm going to try to use one of the Quarkus extension, which is NoSQL database using Amazon DynamoDB. Quick example for the demo. For example, we're going to just develop new NoSQL database transaction on my local environment, which is my dev. And then I'm going to run just Quarkus, and then a Quarkus connect to local DynamoDB, which is based on container environment. And then the Amazon DynamoDB client extension, which that allows my Quarkus application to connect to NoSQL database, which is specifically DynamoDB. So I'm going to create a simple like a resources, like a person, and entity, like a person to store new data schema into DynamoDB. Okay, let's get into the demo, how it works. So first of all, I'm going to create a new application project, let's say DynamoDB client, using Quarkus CLI, and then change the directory, and then open IDE tool. I'm prepared to use VS Code. However, you can use any kind of IDE tool. So Quarkus 2.16.1, we just released 62 yesterday. So this is almost pre-released one, and I'm going to try to add a few more Quarkus extension, which is Amazon DynamoDB, and rest is React Jackson, which allows developer to consume, produce a JSON file data when you retrieve some RESTful API, etc. Okay, so back to my IDE tool and working project. And then it automatically added you the DynamoDB BOM, and then you can see the Amazon DynamoDB and the REST Jackson dependency already pulled down your local file system. The first thing first, always, I'm going to start Quarkus dev to make my daily development work more happier and quicker and fantastic. Okay, so Quarkus dev is running. And then as long as you have the local container runtime, for example, Podman, Docker, and then it automatically stand up relevant dev services, which is local stack. So as you can see here, the local stack container automatic stand up, which is one of the DynamoDB container image. So when you run like a Docker CLI, and you can find which version of a local stack just stand up. You can also use Docker Compose and Docker Run if you don't want to use a local stack. So, and then go to dev services, all relevant configuration of DynamoDB, the specifically credential, you can set it here. And then you can override access key to access your DynamoDB. So I'm going to try to the other way. Just for example, I prefer use dev services, but I'm going to try to showcase more like maybe some familiar practice for individual developer how to use Docker Compose to run my local DynamoDB, which is one of the recommended documentation in Amazon DynamoDB as well. So with that, I just created Docker Compose file, and then as you can see, I'm just try to use Amazon DynamoDB local latest version, and then I just create to use the local volume to save my DynamoDB data. And another thing I need to add here as a dependency is a URL connection client, because I need to use DynamoDB client to synchronize my DynamoDB client response to my Java Bean. In order to, I'm going to use a URL connection client dependency. You can also use asynchronous way to DynamoDB client with the other like a Apache client or the other stuff. Okay, now I'm going to try to use a Docker Compose to stand up my local database, which is DynamoDB. I'm going to switch it to my project again, and then go to the application property, and then I'm going to set my local endpoint DynamoDB, which is exactly same port 8000 into my Docker Compose file, just like 8000 here, port name to port 40. And I just set it there and make sure the dev configuration, this is only dev environment. So now I'm going to try to using AWS command line and AWS DynamoDB command line, try to create the local table, which is a person, and the key is name here, attribute name. So I'm going to just create the Java bean person, which is a very simple name and a direction. With that, I'll enter the command line. It's automatically started, and then you can actually describe the table. Make sure your table is activated. You can also use the NoSQL Workbench tool and the desktop version, and then access to DynamoDB local or remote to Amazon cloud. I'm going to try to create open new connection here, my local, and then now you can see the person data schema is there, but when I scan it, there's no data, so just empty table. Okay, and then to generate sample application like a hello world with the RESTful API, just to make sure my application working and my devs live coding is working. Let me try to add a new data connection here. So first of all, I'm gonna just add in case for the name compilation, the register for reflection annotation aroused, and then make sure this class will be registered as the member of a native compilation. Okay, and then I'm going to try to add two attributes, which is a name and address. And then the other default constructor, like a person, which allows me have the JSON serialization layer. And the prompt method here is just mapping and binding our Java beans with a person to DynamoDB client. So that's why I implement one prompt method, return the Java bean, which is a person object, which is mapped to all item from DynamoDB client. So just example, let me try to add that actual logic when I create the application services Java file here. So here's the application services. I'm going to create a final static like an attribute name, like a person name column, and then the other is person name, for example, address. It's pretty simple. And then I'm going to try to a few more methods here. For example, just cat table names. I just something like a typo here, but I just make sure I'm not going to keep add a static code table name. Just so maybe you don't need to do that, but it's more easy to change your table name with this get method. And then I'm going to try to scan recast, which is just find just one old data. So that scan recast builder and the table name and attribute get name, which is based on person name, and then return the person name and address, etc. Then build that. And then the other method is the put item request, just like a post. When I create a new entry of that my NoSQL database on the person object. So that's why parameter person, I'm gonna mapping a new attribute here using hash map. And then here's the attribute name from DynamoDB, the package name. I'm gonna add a new item put like a person name column and an attribute builder, and then it makes sure based on string, and then from person. Let me try to add a getter setter here, my entity Java class, and then I'm going to add the name, and then the last thing is a bill. That's it. Okay, I'm going to try to copy, and then one more attribute to address, and then changing the method name address here. And then the last thing I'm going to return with the pull item request object with our course table name is a person, and I'm going to try to add the mapping here from that abstract class and the item getting and the setting from the Java bean to set up DynamoDB stuff. Okay, so that's why to add the person data and the calling, things like that. And I'm going to try to new person service like a CDI bean, which is extend the abstract services around implement the DynamoDB client. So first of all, I'm going to inject CDI Dynamo client here, and then the one of the list all data, like a return all person data. Let's say find all, and then return DynamoDB client, which is a send requester and the send request and item, and then it will return the streaming and the mapping. My personal object, the prop method, that's why I mentioned the prop method allows me to bind between Dynamo client response to Java beans. And then I'm going to return collect list type as a list here. Okay, and the other one is like a path method to add a new person data based on JSON file format. So dynamic client once again and put item and then put request item request and then with the person object. That's it. Okay, let me try to delete copy on existing RESTful API to access that to CDI RESTful API. Okay, the first thing is just a new get method. The reason why I deleted the media type that is because it's reactive stuff, so I don't need to consume data format by default. So let me try to inject the person services, and then here we go, the new ask a person all, and then the method name find all, and then just invoke the find all, which is just implemented in person services Java file. And the other one is just post method. For example, add person method name and then parameter person object, and then just invoke add person, which is very simple. Now I'm going to try to invoke with a few JSON format data. For example, name Daniel and address I'm from Boston. Probably everybody know my subscriber. And then I just call the new REST API, hello and person. And now you can see no error 204, which is succeed, return code. And try to add more few data like a Jen from San Francisco, Tim from New York City. And then I'm going to try to the other RESTful API find all person and all. You can see 3 data just reading out. You can go back to NoSQL Workbench and scanning again. You can have 3 data. Let's try to add one more data here. For example, let's say Jenny, and then from Orlando, and you go back to and rescan the Workbench, and then now you can see the one of the data is the Jenny, but this is the based on order by the name. That's why you can see the second row, the Jenny, the MCO from the Orlando airport. Thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of the day.